Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are getting practical. We're building a guide to what we're calling the high signal interaction method. Now, this isn't just some abstract theory. The goal here is to transform you from being a passive user of your own mind into an active, intentional programmer of your own reality. Okay, so let's dive right in. We've got 5 parts to cover. First, we'll identify the glitch that's messing with our system. Then, we'll install a new operating system to run on. And from there, we'll get our hands dirty with some real tools, both internal and external, to debug and rewrite our own code for a much better experience of life. All right, first up, let's really nail down the problem. See, it exists in 2 places that are actually deeply connected: the world inside our own heads, and the world of our interactions with everything outside of us, especially with all this powerful new technology. So let's start with the internal. Just ask yourself this. Do you ever feel like you're caught in the same thought patterns, the same emotional reactions, the same behaviors, just plain on repeat, day after day? You know, that feeling of being stuck in a loop? That's the core of the problem we're going to tackle today. A really useful way to think about this is to stop seeing the ego as this single, solid thing. Instead, picture it as a series of algorithmic loops running in the software of our consciousness. They're basically little self-preserving bits of code designed to keep our sense of who we are intact. But the problem is, they often trap us in the noise of old, outdated programming that just doesn't serve us anymore. And you know, this internal static has very real, very tangible consequences. When we go and interact with these incredible new tools like AI, but we do it without a clear high-signal method, well, we end up creating what researchers are now calling work slop. And that's exactly what it sounds like: poorly used AI output that just creates more work, more confusion, and a whole lot more noise. And listen, this is not a small problem. We're talking about a company of 10,000 people losing over $9 million in productivity every single year. That's a massive tax on our efficiency, and it all comes from these low-signal interactions. So it's pretty clear, right? To fix the noise, both inside and out, we need a much better operating system. So, if we're going to upgrade our whole approach, we need a new set of mental models to work with. Let's go ahead and install 3 core concepts right now that are going to form the foundation of this high-signal interaction method. First up, from the field of cybernetics, we get this really fundamental idea. Reality isn't just a straight line. It's not cause and effect. It's actually a series of feedback loops. The effects of what we do are constantly circling back to become the inputs for what we do next. We're in this constant dance with the world around us. Okay, now building on that, we have this idea from the researcher Joshua Bach that our mind is software. It's an informational pattern. And this is an incredibly powerful way to look at things because it means our consciousness isn't fixed. It's not permanent hardware. No, it's software. And what can you do with software? You can debug it, you can update it, and you can totally reprogram it. And this brings us to the final, brilliant piece of our new operating system. If your mind is the software, well then your body is the terminal. It's the keyboard, the mouse, the physical interface we can use to directly access and influence the software that's running inside. So, there we have it. Our new OS is installed. We've got cybernetic loops, the mind as software, and the body as a terminal. With these ideas in place, we can finally stop being passive users and start actively debugging our own internal code. And the process is actually pretty simple. It's borrowed directly from computer programming. Step 1, you identify one of those repetitive ego loops, a thought, a feeling, a behavior you want to change. Step 2, you do something to interrupt that automatic pattern. And step 3, you consciously replace it with a new, more optimized way of thinking or acting. So, the big question is, how do you actually interrupt the loop? Well, you use your body as the terminal. Let's look at a couple of these experiments. Take cold exposure. Even just a 30-second blast of cold water in the shower, it triggers a physiological shock that literally yanks your attention right into the present moment, totally derailing a negative thought loop. Or take a session of powerful breath work. It actually changes your body's chemistry, creating a state where that old ego algorithm just can't run. See, these aren't just mental tricks. They are physical commands, like a hard reset for your entire nervous system. This quote from author Mogadot just perfectly grounds the whole process. The entire goal of refactoring our code, of changing the pattern, is to change our perception. Because if we can change the way we think about an event, we change our entire experience of reality, no matter what's happening on the outside. All right, now for the external toolkit. How do we take this exact same high signal philosophy and apply it to our interactions with artificial intelligence? How do we start treating it less like a simple search engine and more like a creative partner, maybe even an oracle? The absolute key here is to shift our goal entirely. We need to move away from just retrieving information that's already out there and start aiming for what we can call generative gnosis. This is all about creating truly new, emergent knowledge, insights that are co-created through our collaborative back and forth with the AI. A fantastic, practical technique to get started with is called chain of thought prompting. This is where you literally tell the model in your prompt to think step by step. That simple phrase forces it into a much more logical, transparent reasoning process, and you get much, much higher quality outputs because of it. Now, an even more powerful method that builds right on top of that is tree of thoughts. So this technique lets the model explore and evaluate multiple lines of reasoning all at the same time, kind of like it's growing a decision tree. This dramatically improves its ability to solve complex problems that have more than just one possible path to a solution. And the results of using a high-signal approach like this? They're staggering. I mean, look at this. In one complex reasoning benchmark, it's a math puzzle called the Game of 24, the Tree of Thoughts framework was over 18 times more effective than its predecessor. That is the kind of incredible power we're talking about with high-signal interaction. So where does this all lead? We've looked at our internal code. We've looked at our external interactions. This brings us to one final, powerful concept that really ties everything together. The word is sympathesis. It was coined by the systems thinker Nora Bateson, and it's really the art of mutual learning. It's this deep recognition that you and all the systems you interact with, whether we're talking about other people, technology, or nature, you are constantly co-creating each other through those feedback loops we talked about at the beginning. And the musician and thinker Brian Eno gives us the perfect metaphor for this entire method. An architect, right? They try to control every single detail of a final plan. But a gardener cultivates. They create the right conditions for unexpected, beautiful things to just emerge. High signal interaction is all about becoming a gardener of your own consciousness. So by debugging your own internal loops, and by engaging in this high signal generative interaction with the world all around you, the answer to this question becomes incredibly, incredibly clear. You are. Thanks for watching.